What's going on, you guys? Theo here with the big review, back yet again with another King of Fighters Allstar video. Happy Wednesday to all of you, and in today's video we are going to be revisiting a topic and a video series that we have not done for a little while now, and that is of course going to be our Dear Netmarble series, where we sit down and we discuss a couple of topics or a topic in the King of Fighters Allstar that are very important things that Netmarble needs to focus on and seem to be things that they have been kind of overlooking. So today we are going to be talking about the need to prioritize new modes and new gameplay features in the King of Fighters All-Star over new characters, and that is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, especially recently. So sit back, relax, and let's go ahead and get into this topic, because I feel like there's a lot to dissect here. But before we do all that, if you guys have not already done so and you're new here, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe, and let's get into it. So I'm going to try and be as concise with this as I possibly can be, and really the topic that I chose today is one that is very near and dear to my heart, and I know it's one that comes up a ton on the veteran side of this player base. I talk to people about this all the time. I see it in my comment section all the time. I'm telling you, Netmarble, you need to listen to this, and it has everything to do with the fact that people need new content to play. And so I know that, and a lot of this comes from, and this has become a big talking point since the developer's handbook, right? The developer's handbook came out. We got a bunch of information on what we can expect. You can call it a roadmap, you can call it whatever you want, but basically we got some information on new content we will be seeing over the course of the next couple of months. And the reaction to that stuff, outside of people worried about the new stone slots, which we'll kind of briefly talk about in this video, but the big thing that came out of that as a talking point was the amount of elation from especially the veteran side of the fan base for new PvE content. But it was almost kind of a sarcastic elation. It was more so we just looked at it and go, oh, well, thank God you finally remembered to give us some sort of PvE content. It's only been like 6 months. And that mindset, that philosophy, and that kind of outlook from your veteran player base is exactly where you are struggling right now. And I don't think a lot of people understand this. So I'm going to try and talk about this as much as I can today, because I feel like this is a topic that cannot get forgotten about and should not be ignored. And I will admit this first right off the bat. The biggest thing that Netmarble needs to prioritize right now is not even new PvE content. The biggest thing that Netmarble needs to focus on right now is getting the netcode down. Because once they get the netcode figured out, that will help and fix a lot of different things and make a lot of new things viable in this game. Like, for instance, we recently had the Yamada no Orochi event, right? That Yamada no Orochi event is a perfect microcosm example of new kinds of content that they could be doing in this game that are fresh, they're new, they're interesting, they're quick, they're fun. They could be things that would really help with the future of this game, because I really do think that co-op PvE has a ton of potential. You look at a ton of different games out there, and co-op PvE, things like raid dungeons, where you can go in with a bunch of friends or even just people on the other side of the planet, jump in and fight a raid boss and get these items together. Get maybe, you know, fest tickets or whatever. All these different things that you can do with that kind of content, even if you do limited raids, or if you do, you know, just a general raid pool, or whatever the case may be. Those types of things are important, I think, for the longevity of PvE. However, right now in the current state, because I'm assuming, being that we had PvE co-op in a pretty good place before this latest one, this latest one was completely broken, but it was the first one to come after the new netcode implementation, so I'm assuming that it has everything to do with the netcode that is used on Championship and the like. It's just the same netcode used for something different in the game. They need to get that fixed first. And as you can see, that is kind of a reason why. And honestly, there's way more reasons than just that, but that's just the reason that donates itself to the conversation at hand in this video. I still think that bugs and all that stuff need to get fixed and prioritized above anything else. And I understand that you guys over at Netmarble are shorthanded right now. I get that. And I know I've briefly talked about this in the comment section, and I have not talked about it here on the channel. For those of you who are not aware, there are a lot of rumblings out of Netmarble right now, and and this comes from a very reliable source that has been right about many things in the past, close to the Netmarble side of things, that right now their dev teams in general are pretty thin. Part of that has everything to do with the fact that Netmarble is getting ready to release a Ni no Kuni game on mobile, and they have pulled several developers from dev teams in order to make sure the launch of that game goes smoothly. So I know that King of Fighters Allstar has been affected by that, as well as many of other games, but at the same time, that doesn't change the fact that Netmarble has shown that they have put a bigger priority into releasing new characters over new content, and that, in my opinion, is the reverse of what you need to be doing if you are going to sustain a game long term. Yes, new characters are great, but what good is a new character and all these new characters if there is no new content to use them in? And really, the part of the player base that I am going to be speaking for in today's video is going to be the veteran player base. Because if you are a new player or a beginner player, you are someone that all of this is fresh, all of this is new. And so you jump into this game and it's easy to get lost in all the different content. But for those of us who have been playing this game for a year or two now, it is very tough to find new and interesting things to do. Take me for example, and I know I'm an extreme case because not everybody's a YouTuber, but as a YouTuber, I play this game on a daily basis and have not missed a day of login since the game released. But as a YouTuber, it's tough because I'm trying to put together content, I'm trying to put together footage, sometimes I'm putting together these montages like in this video, and you find that as you're doing it, there's just not a whole lot of things to record content for. Like, you go in and you can do Guild Raid, you can do Time Attack, you can do Immortals, you can do those types of things, but outside of that, there's really not a whole lot of content in this game right now that is very interesting. It's like there's not enough going on anymore because you have not released new PvE content for so long. And so I feel like this big giant gap, this divide that we have had since we had the last major PvE update, that is way too long. You guys have to fix that, because the fact of the matter is players get bored. Players need new things to do, and there are plenty of different options out there, and hey, I give you guys full credit. This game is an incredible achievement as far as the amount of content that's in it. If you're a King of Fighters fan, if you download this game for the first time as a King of Fighters fan and you take a look at all the content here, you can't help but go, wow, that's cool. But at the same time, then you get into the meat and the potatoes of this game and you realize that eventually they just don't add new stuff. Like, they add new characters, but it's the same modes over and over and over again with very little variance. And so there needs to be more of a focus on this, and it needs to start sooner rather than later, because the fact of the matter is there are so many games on mobile and in the mobile gaming space. The mobile gaming space has not even come close to hitting the ceiling that it's going to hit. At a certain point, mobile gaming is going to take off from even a bigger point than it already is now. And being that as it may, that means that there are going to be a lot of new games out there. There are new games added to the Play Store, to the iOS Store every single day. And so if players don't have something new to play, they're going to download something else. And not saying that they're going to stick to that other thing, or they're not going to, multitask and play multiple games, including this one. But the odds of them sticking around for a year, 2 years like myself, or, some of my veteran friends, or maybe you listening to this video, those chances of that go down. And they go down dramatically because it isn't the player's fault. The player just has been grinding the same stuff over and over and over again for months on end without any kind of change or alteration to what they're doing outside of maybe using a new character here or there. And so that is where the issue arises. You need to figure out a way to just start adding in new content that we can actually be playing outside of just characters, because it gets stale. So there's a lot of things that they can do, right? When you start to really kind of brainstorm, and I don't want to make this video, just pure me speculating and fanboying and making my own content in my head and putting it in a video. But I like to look at other games as examples for content, right? Because if you look at other games, especially games that are larger than this game, and you start to look at what makes those work, what makes those tick, That I think is a healthy thing to do, because there's a reason why those games are successful, right? So, for instance, the PvE co-op thing. I talk about it a lot, and I've said in the past, I think the PvE co-op has a huge, bright future in this game. And I really do think that's the case. If they can figure out the netcode and get it working properly, think about the amount of things that they could do, right? So when you talk about new PvE content, the big thing that you really need to keep in mind is there is a lot of stuff that has been added in over the course of the past 6-8 months as far as items and things that we need to grind that we still don't have a very good way of getting, right? So like hammers as a good example. Hammers, we recently found out that we are going to be getting 2 new open slots per character, right, for our stones. But that just compounds and furthers the issue of hammers, because hammers, especially if you are not a veteran, are very tough to come by. And so it's one of those things where even if you are able to get a hammer from a certain mode, even then the drop percentage, or the drop amount on those things rather, it just isn't large enough. You get those hammers, you could have 200 hammers. That doesn't mean that you're going to be able to even fully level up 1 stone, because I have seen people use 300 hammers or more on 1 stone. They have had that bad of luck. The RNG with that is abysmal. And so when it comes to the hammers, they need to make those something that are easier to get, especially if they're going to be adding in new stones. They need to figure out a way to make memories easier to get. Memories are so vital right now for players to be able to get more easily, because I'm telling you, your focus on releasing new characters over and over and over again is further making this a problem, because people cannot keep up. You need 7-8 memories in order to fully level up these characters, and there are just no real good ways of doing it outside of spending a bunch of money for a lot of players. And so that is something that really turns people off. And look, I get it. I'm not telling you that you need to just start giving them away like they're candy. I get that. However, I do think that with PvE co-op as an example, and it doesn't have to be PvE co-op, I'm just using it as an example in this video. If you did a raid system where we had a raid boss and people could go in, you could do a global raid boss, you could do just a local raid boss, you could do any sort of thing. But say you did a global raid boss, right? And basically it had 1 giant health pool and everybody could attack it. You're not going to be able to finish it yourself, but your damage donates to its overall HP pool going down over time, and you basically have, say, a week or 2 for the global team or whatever you want to do, if you want to separate us from everybody else or whatever you want to do. Once you take it down to 0, everybody that participated gets the prizes, and then say it's some hammers, maybe it's a BS memory, whatever. That would be a phenomenal system. A raid system in general would be a great way to get people interested and also help fix some of the issues with some of these items being tougher to get, because it would be inclusive for everyone. Even if you're a new player, you'd be able to donate even a little bit of damage, but you're still going to be able to get the overall prize pool at the end of it if we all take it down together over time. And so it's little things like that, things that you see other games do all the time that are very, very beneficial and bring players together, because I really do think that's important. Bringing players together, like for instance, people wanted to talk about how the guild battle system that they're talking about, where you can have your guild face off against other guilds. Some people got upset about that. I welcome that. That's because that requires guilds to be more talkative. It requires people to be more invested in having conversations and interacting, and that's a good thing. So, in my opinion, there is a big focus on new characters, a huge focus on new characters in 2021, even more so than there's ever been in this game's lifespan. It used to be we just had the unified banner, and for a long time, that was all we had, and that was all we had to worry about. But now we're worrying about everything under the sun, from BS characters to SS characters, and then, of course, always the big piano hanging over everybody's head, collaborations. So it's one of those things where you have put such value on releasing new characters because you can monetize them that you have not even thought about PvE content for forever, and it has cost you players. I guarantee you it's cost you part of your player base. At the end of the day, whether it's releasing new story mode difficulties, whether it's releasing new content in general, it needs to happen more often, because that's the only way you're going to keep your player base around for the long haul. But that's just my opinion, you guys. What say you? You can let me know in the comment section down below. Maybe there's a PvE idea that you've had for a dungeon or what have you that you might have had that has not been shared before. You can share it in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear it. If you enjoy daily King of Fighters All-Star content such as this, make sure you smash like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Continue.